Charlie Munger, in his book Damn Right, said that accumulating the first 100,000 from a standing start with no seed money is the most difficult part of building wealth. So in this video, I want to talk about why the first $100,000 in your portfolio is by far the hardest to build, how long it took me to get to 100,000, and what you can do to accelerate that process. Speeding up that process is actually quite simple, so more on that later in the video. No, this video is not financial advice or recommendation for you to do anything. It's just general information for entertainment purposes. Okay, when you're not a trust fund baby and you need to start from scratch, the first 100,000 in your portfolio is by far the hardest. Why? Let me show you. Let's suppose that Otto is investing $10,000 per year at a 7% interest rate. At a $10,000 per year savings and at a 7% interest rate, it will take approximately 7.84 years to get to 100,000 in the portfolio. But once you're past $100,000 in your portfolio, what you'll find is that your friend, compound interest, is gonna fly in and give you a massive helping hand. Instead of taking almost 8 years to get to 100K, the next 100K is going to take 3 years less. And then after that, it's going to take less and less time to accumulate the same amount in your portfolio. That's the beautiful thing about compound interest. The more money you have in your portfolio, the more it'll grow. So I want to show you my own journey and how long it took me to get to 100,000 in my portfolio. I first started investing when Acorns launched in Australia back in 2016. I didn't really know what I was doing, but investing a few dollars every single day didn't seem like a very risky thing to do, and it was the easiest way for me to learn about investing by doing. After I reached 4 figures in the portfolio, I decided to withdraw that money and choose my own ETFs and index funds. If you're interested to learn more about ETFs and index funds, I've dedicated a few beginner-friendly videos for just that. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Then after Acorns, as I started to earn more money, I put a higher percentage of my income straight into ETFs. That percentage is also known as the savings rate, which is essentially just the percentage of your income you're dedicating for investments. Now in the beginning, it was just a couple $100s per month, and it doesn't really seem like it's moving the needle at all. And that's part of the reasons why your first 100,000 is so hard, because it's small gains on a really small portfolio. But as I earned more and invested more, the momentum was starting to build. And towards the end of 2019, I was sitting on a $24,000 portfolio. At $24,000, it's still pretty small and insignificant to a lot of people. But things are about to change dramatically in 2020. Also, don't worry, this is just my Australian portfolio. I'll show my US portfolio in just a second. Now, once or twice a lifetime opportunity showed itself in the form of a pandemic crash. And at the time, I knew that my income wasn't going to be affected. Actually, it was going to get better. So what I did was I sold my car, I took out my saving, and I invested as much as I could during the downturn. And the rest is history. As of recording this video, my Australian side of my portfolio is worth about 93,000 Australian dollars. And my US portfolio, which is in stake, it's worth about 39,000 US dollars, which is approximately 49,000 Australian dollars. So altogether, my portfolio is worth about $145,000 as of recording this video. So it took me about 4 years to reach 100,000, but what I start to notice is that once I reached that point, my portfolio was starting to snowball. From 100,000 to 140,000, it took about 3 months. And as much as I want to say that compound interest played a very big part in that journey, the bigger factor is that I've started to earn a lot more and I contributed a lot more to my portfolio. Which brings me to the next part of this video. If the first 100,000 is the hardest, how do we accelerate that process? In the first part of this video, I showed that if Otto invested $10,000 per year at a 7% interest, it'll take him approximately 8 years to get to 100,000. What if he upped that amount from 10,000 to 20,000? The time it takes to reach 100,000 gets cut down to about 5 years. And if Otto invests $30,000 per year, the amount of time it takes to get to 100,000 gets cut down to a little bit more than 3 years. The point I'm trying to get at is that as Otto saves and invests more, the time it takes to reach 100,000 gets less and less. In the real world, it's very unlikely to get a 7% interest rate in a savings account, not to mention stock market returns will be all over the place. So I think it's a fair comment to say that the 7% interest rate is not really in our control at all. But what is in our control is the amount that we save and invest. So let's talk about that. When it comes to saving money, I actually think that most of you watching are pretty good. A little less buy now, pay later, a little less eating out, you eventually find yourself having more money in the bank account than you're used to. What I think people neglect more is earning more income. Because at the end of the day, you realize that you can only save so much until you need to earn more. So to earn more, I think there are two main ways to go about this. You can either upskill yourself to be so good that your employer cannot afford to let you go and will just chuck money at you, or you can build a side hustle that will make money as you sleep.
Now on the upskilling point, it's not about doing tons and tons of courses.
It's about adding tools to your arsenal that will either help a company achieve their objective more efficiently or to generate more revenue. In my case, since I was working at a venture-funded startup, it was really important to the company to be able to generate more revenue. So it became my obsession to get better at SEO and how to invest our marketing budget at a significantly higher return. The other option to make more money is to build a side hustle, and I dedicated a video on the 3 steps I took to build a side hustle that generated $45,000 in 9 months. To not leave you hanging, I want to share a few side hustle ideas with you that have worked out really well for me. But just so you know, the common ground with these side hustle ideas is that in the beginning, I barely earned anything. But with a strong dose of humility and persistence, it eventually worked out for me. So one of the first side hustles I built is help small to medium-sized companies with SEO and digital marketing activities. I already had success doing just that in startups in the past, so it wasn't too difficult in the beginning to find clients. But it wasn't easy either. At the same time, what I realized is that the better you are at that particular skill, the easier it is to eventually find clients that will pay you. That definitely applies to things outside of marketing. Think about filming, think about writing, think about graphics design. And especially filming, if you know how to operate a camera, lighting, I really think they are becoming so much more valuable these days just because there are a lot of companies who want to go out tell their story via a video format or use video content for YouTube ads. So if you know how to work a camera and some lighting, you are going to be incredibly valuable moving forward in the marketplace. At least that's my understanding, that's my perception, and that's my experience that tells me so far. Helping people for free or do things for very cheap not only give you a chance to work on your craft, but it also has a massive impact on how people will eventually find your work. Granted, you do a pretty good job.
But David, what if I hate what I do at work?
Well, go learn something you enjoy doing, do it for free for others, and eventually get good enough to charge other people for it. Literally, I transitioned my career from finance to marketing by doing a course and ended up getting a job at it. Now, another side hustle that worked really well for me is creating content. Before YouTube, I actually started writing on Quora first, just answering people's personal finance questions with my own experience. It was definitely pretty odd that people enjoyed some of my writing, but the monetization of Quora was really weak. So building a side hustle on Quora was not exactly ideal. Then I started converting some of my Quora writing into video format on YouTube. And even though in the beginning I didn't earn much, the connection between my videos and you, I found it really fulfilling. I did have to teach myself how to film, how to edit, and how to write scripts. But honestly, the feedback on the videos really kept me going. And then it became pretty obvious why content creators love coming to YouTube, because you can really build a career on YouTube. So think about some of the most watched personal finance creators. So think about Graham Stephan, think about Andre Jig, even our very own Brandon from New Money. If you want a more detailed guide on how I build my side hustles, I would highly recommend checking out the 3 steps I took to build the side hustle video first, and then the side hustle ideas video second. Those should be more than enough to help you get started. I'll leave those video links in the description box below for anyone who are interested. So let me summarize. The first 100K absolutely sucks because compound interest is still taking a nap. It took me about 4 years to get to 100K. I just had horrible spending habits, wasn't making enough income, and I was waving my credit card in the air like I just don't care. But once you get there, the compound interest will start showing itself. And to speed up that journey towards the first 100K, work really hard, get really good at your craft, or start a side hustle. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you want to support the channel, not to mention access to additional content pieces and be part of my fortnightly Q&A, consider supporting the channel via Patreon. Nevertheless, if you have learned something new, remember to gently smack the like button right there, subscribe to my channel so that when I release future videos, you be the first one to know. Until next time, my name is David. Otto will always do the honors and see you very, very soon.